It was early morning, the city alive but the air still cold. People rushing with coffee cups, cars honking, footsteps echoing. And in the middle of it all stood a man in an orange reflective vest pushing a broom, his back bent, his hands rough, his face lined with years of labor. His name was Samuel, a street cleaner who worked quietly while the world passed him by, unseen, unthanked, invisible, until one man decided to notice him, not with kindness, but with cruelty, because a sleek black car pulled up, a luxury machine that screamed money, and out stepped Richard Hale, the powerful businessman, suit tailored, shoes shining, his smirk sharp as a knife. He looked at Samuel and burst out laughing, loud enough to make people turn. "Look at this," he sneered. "A grown man spending his life sweeping trash. What a waste." A few bystanders chuckled nervously. No, because it was funny, but because Richard was rich and no one dared to disagree. Samuel tightened his grip on the broom, the sting sharp in his chest. But he stayed silent, sweeping as if the insult hadn't touched him, while Richard shook his head and strode into his building, proud of his arrogance, unaware that life was already setting up his lesson. And that lesson came hours later when the sky turned dark and rain poured down hard, streets flooding, thunder cracking, and Richard left his office late, annoyed his driver wasn't waiting, muttering curses as he held his briefcase over his head, shoes splashing through puddles. He turned a corner near the subway, water rushing, pavement slick, and in one sudden slip his feet went out from under him, his body pitched forward, arms flailing, heart exploding in fear, because he was falling, straight toward the speeding cars that didn't slow for rain. Panic gripped him. He thought this was the end, but then hands grabbed him, strong hands, rough and calloused, pulling him back with surprising force, slamming him safely against the wall, his breath ragged, his chest pounding, and when he looked up he froze, because it was Samuel, the same man he had humiliated, standing there drenched in rain, vest glowing under streetlights, gray hair plastered to his forehead, eyes calm, voice steady. "Careful," Samuel said softly. "The ground's dangerous." Richard's throat tightened. Shame burning hot, the man he mocked had just saved his life. But Samuel didn't wait for thanks. He simply nodded and turned back to sweeping water into the gutter as if nothing happened, as if saving someone's life was just another part of his work. Richard stood frozen, drenched, shaking his ego, shattered. And that night he couldn't sleep, tossing in his luxury bed, haunted by Samuel's face, those hands pulling him back from death, haunted by his own cruel laughter. For the first time in years, regret pierced him, and the next morning he did something rare. He went back to that same corner, and there Samuel was broom in hand, sweeping quietly. Richard walked closer, his voice low. "Samuel?" he asked. The older man looked up. "Yes, sir." Richard swallowed hard, words heavy. "Yesterday I mocked you, and you saved me. You had every reason to leave me, but you didn't." Samuel gave a faint smile, humble, gentle. "We don't help people because of how they treat us. We help because it's right." Those words crushed Richard's pride, hitting deeper than any insult ever could. Because Samuel had something he never had: true strength. The strength to forgive, the strength to be kind. Days later, Richard called a press conference outside his building, cameras flashing, reporters whispering. And when Richard walked on stage, Samuel was beside him, dressed simply, confused why he was there. And then Richard spoke, his voice carrying across the crowd. "This man saved my life, Samuel, a street cleaner, a man I mocked, a man I disrespected. And yet when I slipped, when I could have died, he saved me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Richard's voice shook. "From today, Samuel will no longer sweep streets. He will lead a program I am funding, one that ensures every worker is treated with respect and dignity." The crowd erupted. Samuel's eyes filled with tears he tried to hide, his whole life unseen, and suddenly the world clapped for him. Richard's voice broke as he placed a hand on Samuel's shoulder. "I thought money made me powerful. I thought success made me untouchable. But real power is kindness. And yesterday this man proved it." Cameras flashed, people cheered, and Samuel, the man once invisible, stood at the center of it all, tears rolling down his cheeks, not from pride but from relief. And Richard knew he could never undo his arrogance, but he could change his future, because Samuel didn't just save his life, He saved his soul. And this story leaves us with one truth. Never underestimate the people you look down on. Never think someone's worth is measured by their job or status, because sometimes the very person you dismiss as nothing is the one who will save everything.